All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the May 21st, 2024 regular meeting of the Louis Riel School Board of Trustees. We begin by acknowledging that the Louis Riel School Division brings together a community of schools on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe, Inninawak, and Dakota. Our school division is located on the national homeland of the Red River Métis, and we recognize that Manitoba is also the traditional land of the Anishinaabe and Dene. We respect the treaties made on this land and acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past and present. And we dedicate ourselves to in a spirit of reconciliation and cooperation. To everyone that is joining us in the room and online, just to note that we have a 15-minute public question period at the end of the meeting where you can ask questions on items on our agenda and that we discussed this evening. If there's questions you have outside of that, you're welcome to email info@lrsd.net, and we will ensure that your inquiry gets to the right person who's in the best position to answer questions. Also, we do record our meetings to ensure that our minutes are communicated accurately to our community. And we ask that if you have intent to take any photographs or do recordings, you clarify that with us in advance, please. Our vision is for all members of our community to excel as caring, confident, capable, and resilient lifelong learners who contribute to a democratic and sustainable world. And our mission is to provide a safe, inclusive, and engaging environment where personal and collective learning are valued and each one of us reaches our full potential. No regrets for the meeting today. Trustee Palmquist is joining us remotely this evening. First order of business is to approve the agenda for this evening. So the motion is that the May 21st agenda for the regular be approved. I need a mover and seconder, please. Trustees Simoniola, second. Trustee Guerrier, all in favor. Any opposed? Went too fast?
Yeah, I'm getting a bit of a late today.
Okay.
Sorry, I vote yes.
Oh, yes, but I'm not getting a screen.
I'm gonna try refreshing and see.
Try again.
And the motion is carried. Thank you. The second item is to approve or to accept the minutes rather of the May 7th meeting. I haven't received any indication that there is anything that needs to be corrected or edited, so we will accept those as they've been distributed and archived accordingly. News from the Board of Trustees this evening is brought to us by Trustee Palmquist. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, everyone, and forgive the background. I am just feeding my baby here. So my news from the board and to the board started on Earth Day, where Environment and Climate Change Minister Tracy Schmidt visited HS Paul School in Ward 3. Made a government funding regarding $63,000 of funding for Take Pride Winnipeg. Students afterwards celebrated by doing a community cleanup of the schoolyard and surrounding area, at which I was happy to be able to join and talk to the kids about some of my other work in Save Our Seine and hand out some of the ever popular dollar store garbage picking sticks, which all kids love. Next, I was again happy to be able to engage with LRSD students during a adventure day in the Bois d'Esprit Forest, which was led by myself and Save Our Seine board member Dennis DePape, where 4 École Varennes students came and did a walk through the forest, including learning about decomposition, the role of deadfall in regenerating ecosystems, as well as a number of firsts in terms of animal sightings for many students, as well as a tremendous improvement in my own personal French vocabulary when it came to natural, when it comes to the names of flora and fauna in the ecosystem. Lastly, wanted to recognize the exciting opportunity many Dakota Collegiate students had when they were invited last week to the legislature by St. Vital MLA Jamie Moses, where the varsity girls basketball and junior and varsity football teams visited the ledge. Jamie's invitation, they were recognized by the entire Legislative Assembly, Premier and opposition in the gallery, after which they took a large group photograph recognizing not just their amazing season they've recently had, but the really string of excellent performances, including undefeated season by the Lancers over the last 3 years. So those are my updates.
Great, thank you very much. And news from the senior leadership team this evening from Assistant Superintendent Anderson.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to start this evening with news from École Sage Creek School and sharing with you a special project they have there called Coyote Explorations. And this is a multi-age learning experience where students choose a topic of interest and then come together for 3 different learning sessions in cross-grade groups. That includes students from both the English program and French immersion program. So students are grouped in grades 1 to 3 or groups 4 to 6. And these are very well received. Students look forward to this activity from 1 year to the next. It allows them to pursue a passion and to meet new people in their school and find out more about their interests. Next to École Provencher, where they are doing their bike bus or vélo bus for a second year. This is like a walking school bus on a bike. So this happens on 5 Fridays in May and June, and there's a predetermined route through the community where the group will stop and take new members, parents accompany, helping to marshal the students. For those listening in that aren't aware, École Provencher is a kindergarten to grade 4 students. So these are some very young riders getting to know bike safety and their community, as well as engaging in a very sustainable and active transportation mode. Our next stop is at Collège Béliveau, where we're going to talk about their Comédie Musicale, their musical that was performed during the week of April the 30th. Now, you might not know that their production is entirely bilingual, and it is an original production that is created by students and staff each year. So teacher Melanie Dubois is the leader of the group, and students are involved as writers, set designers, musicians, choreographer, actors. There are many different ways that they can be involved. And this was a great success, and it impacts very positively on students' sense of belonging and self-confidence. The next stop is also in Windsor Park at Frontenac School. Frontenac's leadership students were challenged to come up with a permanent art installation at the school as part of Black History Month. And the challenge was to develop an original art piece that would create a sense of belonging and represent the diversity of our school for years to come. Students were guided in the development process with their storytelling and personal experiences. And this generated more shared stories and connections between cultures. Ms. Deckert, one of the teacher leaders, shared that it was so incredible to hear our student stories as they shared with everyone aloud. Each class listened intently with such interest and respect for culture. And you'll see the various steps here shown in the photos. The students had a role to play, whether it be having input or just sharing their ideas, or actually painting or taking part in another way in the project. So that one of the highlights for the students was when Superintendent Michalik visited the school a couple of weeks ago, and students were able to share the finished product with him. Well, the not yet finished art with him, but certainly quite advanced. So Big bravo to all of our students at Flatnack School and to teacher Christine Deckert and the 7-8 team. Also in Windsor Park, this time at Windsor Park Collegiate for Asian Heritage Month. It is a vibrant celebration of the diverse cultures, traditions, and contributions of Asian communities. And throughout the month, students and staff engaged in a variety of activities and events designed to promote understanding and appreciation of Asian heritage. This included cultural performances, art exhibitions, guest speakers, workshops, and discussions exploring topics related to history, cuisine, music, and literature from various Asian countries. The goal is to foster a sense of inclusivity, respect, and unity within the school community while highlighting the richness of Asian cultures. And you can see some of the highlights of the events, if you can just keep scrolling down the journeys, that took place over the course of the month. And that is my report this evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you to you both for starting our evening off with such a positive outlook and a glimpse into some of the things that are happening in our schools. Much appreciated. We have a presentation today, which is always something to look forward to. Our school and classroom support team and the Indigenous learning team are here, and to Corey to set things for us, please and thank you.
Yes, thank you. Just waiting for the PowerPoint, but I could begin. So thanks for having us here today to talk about some of the work within the school and classroom supports team. I brought a group of amazing teacher leaders with me today who are going to share some of the work that they're doing, as well as Divisional Vice Principal Trish Bailey is here for her always supportive nature. Next slide, please. Yeah, so the team, the school and classroom support team, the larger team consists of senior leadership, the school clinical team, SCST 25-ish, as we call it now, and that includes the Indigenous team and the instructional team together, as well as the Indigenous languages team, who this year is 6, moving to 10 next year as we get into all kindergarten, grade 1, and some grade 2 classrooms. This year was the first year we brought together the Indigenous instructional team for monthly meetings. We made a shift beginning in September to bring these teams together, not as a matter of convenience or reducing the number of meetings, but in a purposeful way so we could share in our expertise and our work together. This team has been responsible for 278 requests for service. So that is a Microsoft form that is sent from school administrators requesting some aspect of service outside of our divisional initiatives. And this team has done amazing work in there. Next slide. And, you know, as we continue to talk about the school and classroom support team, and, you know, we could have brought a much larger crew today, and I would welcome another opportunity for others to come and share about their work another time. But our work is in supporting the multi-year strategic plan, supporting school-based plans based on the multi-year strategic plan and local in nature, and supporting students. And all of this is done through collaboration between our team and teams and school staff, as well as through job embedded learning. So like I said, we're not covering it all today, but a few folks are going to speak about some work that they're currently working on. And we're going to begin with Rose.
Good evening. Bonsoir. Magandang gabi sa lahat niyo po. Ang pangalan ko, Rose Pagtacan. And as an immigrant and an English as an additional language learner myself, I'm humbled tonight and honored to provide with you a brief overview of the significant and far-reaching approach to supporting multilingual learners that LRSD has been implementing over the past 2 years. So we know that the immigrant population in Canada continues to grow. In LRSD, 18% of students identify as English as an additional language learner. So from a strictly numbers-based standpoint, the need to build capacity in all teaching staff throughout the division to support MLLs is clear. However, this goal to ensure that all staff are appropriately equipped to support MLLs is more than just a solution to meet the logistical needs of a rapidly growing diverse student population. Building capacity in all teachers is ultimately about building community and underpinned by the principles of diversity, equity, inclusion, and anti-racism, which are the core values that informs all of LRSD's work. So it's critical that the true significance of this work that we're doing with MLLs is recognized. So the question of how will we support multilingual learners is actually a question of how do we honor the diversity of learners within our community. So in order to empower teachers to carry out this work of building community, we've undertaken the following initiatives. Number one, ethic of hospitality. This is the starting point of ensuring that MLLs and their families truly feel welcomed and know that they belong in the LRSD community. We continually listen to MLL stories to understand the importance of this. It cannot be stated enough that before any learning can occur, students must feel a sense of safety, belonging, connectedness, and only then will they be able to ready to take risks and be open to learning. And this is especially true of immigrants who often suffer from. Number two, resources. We as a team have been diligently working to ensure that all staff are aware and are familiar with all related provincial resources, especially the Manitoba Curriculum Framework for EAL and LAL, which is key in guiding teachers in how to plan, program, and assess students appropriately. And just for information, this curriculum framework just came out of draft form in 2021. Number three, LRSD created documents. Our school and classroom support team has led the creation of several LRSD documents to aid teachers in supporting multilingual groups. We've created a step-by-step support guide, frequently asked questions for various staff groups, an MLLs and specialized assessments document, and this huge document, which is actually the one on the right, was born out of the hard work of 30 teachers and clinicians from across the division. The document provides a plethora of information and specific strategies for teachers to use with their students. And finally, a registration guide was also created to support clerical staff who are often the very first to welcome our new families. Number four, divisional professional development. We continue to provide ongoing professional development for student services teachers, as well as all teachers who are new to the division. Number five, direct support to schools. The school and classroom support team has provided and continues to provide direct support to schools in the form of whole school PDs, staff meeting presentations, collaborating with administrators and SSTs, working with teacher grade groups, educational assistants, and with students. Now, out of our 40 schools, our team has provided direct support in helping teachers and staff support MLLs to 29 schools. And number six, identifying MLL teacher leaders in each of our schools. And this is so that we can grow the expertise across our school community. We've gathered these school leaders as part of divisional committees. And this year we worked collaboratively with the Manitoba Teachers Society through a grant program. Now, these are just some of the work that we've been doing as a team. I was given 4 minutes, so I had to take a lot off. But there is also the critical work of shifting the narrative of MLLs from a deficit perspective to an asset-based perspective. And while MLLs arrive without the ability to fluently speak English, they do come with an abundance of skills, knowledge, and experiences that we have to really recognize and celebrate. So teachers are encouraged during a lot of the professional development that we do to check their unconscious biases and take the time to reflect on the errors of the past. Now, this work has been in large part due to the relationship building between the instructional team and the Indigenous learning team. We know about the atrocities of residential schools, how it tried to take the Indian out of the child, to erase their cultures and their languages. The members of the Indigenous team, as well as the Ojibwe language team, have shared their own thoughts, their stories, their knowledge and experiences, and they have helped us to make connections, find parallels, and ask the really important question: are we honoring the cultures and languages of multilingual learners today? Or are we trying to erase them too? So by honoring and allowing newcomers to use their entire repertoire, we're actually empowering them, giving them agency, and disrupting the barriers of the past. And this is reflected in our new multi-year strategic plan 3.0. So in closing, we have a list of future plans, including the implementation of a middle year's LUL pilot program for grades 7 and 8 students who have significantly interrupted or no schooling. And we also especially look forward to the increased collaboration with the Indigenous team. So while the prospect of building capacity in staff division-wide may seem like a lofty and daunting goal to many, but I think we're making real great inroads. We have to remember hundreds of students in our own communities are learning English every single day, which is also a very daunting and lofty goal. Thank you. Merci. Maraming salamat.
Hello, everyone. We're pretty excited to be able to come and talk to you today about land-based education. My name is Sean Oliver.
Bonjour, Rose Indigenous, Wasagamak, Gigu and Dudem. My name is Rose Bird. I'm from Wasagamak First Nation and I'm from the Fish.
I'm Red River Métis. My family names are No and Bruno and Lajimodier. And we're part of the Indigenous Learning Team, also part of the school and classroom support team.
I also teach the Indigenous Language and Culture course at the school level. I've taught it at Dakota and I'm currently teaching it at Nelson McIntyre Collegiate. Yeah. So we're here today to talk to you a little bit about land-based education and what that means to us here in LRSD. So we first off like to give you a little definition. So land-based education is different from place-based education. Land-based education acknowledges the histories and shared relationships in the context of place, Red River, Treaty 1 territory. If colonization was fundamentally about disconnecting and dispossessing people from land, then decolonization must be about reconciling and
when we get out on the land with students, whether that's in local spaces or we actually go out to the boreal forest or as far as we can, we find that we're able to do so many things that are truly important. And we've listed them all there on the screen for you to read. I'll note most of them. We get to learn with a focus on Indigenous ways of knowing, seeing, and being, but also two-eyed seeing. And I think that's really fundamental, especially for students who identify as Indigenous.
Yeah, so two-eyed seeing is seen from a Western perspective as well as lens.
Okay. When we get out on the land, we're able to speak to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. We're able to talk about inherent Indigenous rights, treaty relationships, and language infusion happens as well. So we're able to get out there and really talk about important themes that are already happening in classrooms, but we get to do it from a point of view of actually being on the land and getting to feel and experience what that relationship is like and how those pieces of those relationships are woven into all of those larger topics.
But whether we're doing it with staff or students, where we're modeling how this looks and capacity and others to do Our goal is to build capacity within the teachers of our school division to be able to keep learning and do it themselves within their own classrooms.
Yeah, so some of the PD that we've developed over the past couple of years has been about that, trying to build capacity, but just showing what it's like to visit a place, imagine the possibilities for teaching and learning, and try to listen to some of the stories that the place is talking about. So that can look like, investigating land-based text, investigating community, making relationships with people on the land in those spaces as well. What we're trying to do is create opportunities that aren't always available in schools, land-based experiences, but also developing attitudes and skills, connecting with those, the bullet point 2 there. And also connecting with significant places and spaces on the land. There's so much here at Red River. There's so much here in Winnipeg to talk about and to learn about. And we're super passionate about it.
And the opportunities to build community connections on a micro level and macro level has been amazing. We've done that. We've volunteered our students to community organizations. We build connections with teachers with organizations that are not in our school division, which we have utilized. So this is just a small snippet of what we do. We do a lot more.
Yeah, and a lot of the programming that we're supporting are students who sometimes are looking to, find success in credits that they may not have had success for in before. And so we're looking for opportunities for us to get out there and actually make curricular connections and then have that recorded, go back, have a conversation with the teacher and the student together and talk about where those successes have come from. And, give those teachers an opportunity to report and assess that student based on those experiences. So that, it's really kind of about looking at students holistically and providing those opportunities to also shift the balance of not so much power, but just some of our students come to us with a lived experience that has an underpinning of all of these things that we do in land-based education. And when they're able to see themselves reflected in that learning, it kind of shifts who has voice and who resonates in those spaces.
Next slide, please. So this, we're not going to go through all of this, but this is a few recent initiatives, examples of land-based education that we've done this year and last. Walking tours, Métis tours, admin retreats. We've developed and delivered PD for all of our staff. We deliver PD for students. We've recently collaborated with Jordana Milne, who is also on the SCST. She's a sports convener, currently planning a land-based learning day at Dr. Penner next week. We've also collaborated with the industrial arts folks. We're doing a project block at NMC that is Indigenous perspective based. The Dakota and NMC language course, I'm not fluent, but I integrate as much language as I can. And I take them on sweats and I integrate a culture and ceremony as much as I can. Sorry, I'm speaking fast because we're at 5 minutes. And we do tons of other things. Like I said, this is a small snippet of what we do.
Yeah, the last thing I'll mention is just that, in wanting to get out there and do this safely, we've also had to work with Ryan Sabrin, other folks on the SCST who can kind of guide us in field trip planning and getting out there as safe as possible. So if it's wood cutting, yeah, we have a chainsaw out there. If it's ice fishing, you can imagine some of the potential perils, but it's been really good so far, safe and fun. Thanks.
My name is Kristen McDowell. Hello, bonjour. Along with my colleagues, Shayak and Kristen LTBs, our main roles this year have been the rollout of the literacy project, LRSD. There are 3 main goals of the literacy project. The first one is to build teacher capacity, making literacy accessible to all students within our division, including our most at-risk students. And that would include, of course, our MLLs and our Indigenous students. We are trying to create a sense of collective responsibility by clarifying roles within school. It's an all hands on deck approach. So this includes our admin, our SSTs, and our teachers. And we are also using early screeners and common assessments to identify the needs of our young learners early so that we can identify any student needing more resources early on. So if we look here, the key features of the literacy project right now is it's K-3 focused because that's where we know we can have the greatest impact. It's a job embedded professional development, and we're following a teaching sprints model. And we are also providing teachers, and all teachers within the division can access through the portal asynchronous learning videos on the science reading, the first one explains what the science of reading is, phonemic awareness and phonics, vocab, fluency and comprehension, and of course, the power of read aloud and written responses. And when we're talking about Indigenous education as well, we're always considering what types of resources or what types of books are we choosing students, and are we bringing in all cultures and ideas. So this term we were meeting with teachers for about 30 minutes, twice per term. We've also met with our student teachers and administrators to analyze data and plan for interventions. We went into classrooms to model, and actually, if you can go back, sorry. We went into classrooms to model, and we were also co-teaching throughout the entire year. And we also worked on developing many of our divisional resources that people can now find on the portal. So if we move ahead one slide, maybe go back to the, sorry. There should have been did we lose one? This one. So this one was just a quick snapshot where you can see some of the data. So we were in 12 schools this year, working with 48 teachers, K-3, along with 28 school support teams. Sorry, that included 16 SSTs and 12 administrators. That means that we are working with 680 students directly this year. And then again, you can see that we co-planned, observed, modeled, assessed, provided resources. So far we've been in 30% of schools. Next slide, please.
And the job.
Sorry, next one. There we go. So, and here is our long range plan. So year one, as I said, we've been 12 schools. Next year, we will be working with 5 new schools while we continue to support our wave 1 schools. Year 3, we are trying to get into 7 more schools, along with continuing to support the schools from year 2. And then our wave 1 schools, we will be supporting through RFSs, requests for services at that point. So by the time we hit year 5, which is 2027, 2028, we hope to have reached all 31 schools with the project. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting us to come and speak with us this evening. My name is Dina Almeida. And I'm Sharmila Sukan. And we're here representing the student services portion of our school and classroom support team. Sharmila and I have been doing this type of work for quite a long time, and I'm seeing some faces around the audience here and the people that we've worked with in the past. So it's been wonderful to touch base with people. So what does student services do, and how do we help in Louis Riel with our school and classroom support team? As Corey mentioned, to request our team, there is a request for service that school administrators complete. And then they can be requesting instructional support, Indigenous support, or clinical consults in the sections of the student services requests. We then meet with school teams to look at some of the strengths that the school has and where some of their goals would be and how we can support them. We would look at building team capacity, and we would be working alongside school teams to define the goals and to work with the school staff. From there, so our student services role has really many important pieces. The student services role is quite diverse. Our students are diverse, and so we need to make sure that we are planning and thinking about them in a holistic way. So we are student services mentors, and some of the roles that we've done this year is looked at some of the initiatives from the provincial government. We've provided professional development for all student services teachers in the division to 12. And then we also have been working with new student services teachers. You'll notice in the postings, there are lots of new student services roles in the division. And so we're making sure that the people who are put in those roles have the skills that they need in order to support and to serve the staff and students at their school. We are also part of the social emotional learning piece, where we are divisional mentors for sources of strength, especially in the kindergarten to grade 3, as that is a new curriculum this year. And then we support schools in looking at their classroom profiles, and when they have classroom profiles that are unique, that need some support, we look at it with a DEI lens, with diversity, equity, inclusion, and anti-racism. That's always woven through our practice, along with neuro-affirming practices, developmentally appropriate teachings, and trauma-informed approach.
So this year we have the addition of positions on our team. So we have a half-time occupational therapist, a half-time psychologist, and a half-time speech and language pathologist. So each of us use our own unique lens to support students. So we collaborate heavily with our school-based clinicians, as well as those clinicians who are attached to the school and classroom support team, to co-develop plans that provide developmentally appropriate pedagogy for our LRSD students. We work alongside administrators, classroom teachers, and student services teachers, as well as with the LACE assistant superintendent, to provide and support guidance to create a comprehensive plan for the whole child. On the next slide, here's some additional divisional projects that we're involved in. So I this year have the ability to be able to support the Indigenous language exposure team. So I work with them every 6 weeks or so to support Indigenous language instructors with strategies and mentorship on creating and safety and classroom management strategies. We consult on students who are in the individualized programming. We offer divisional professional learning sessions. This year specifically, we've been heavily involved with the student services professional learning through MECO. We are often called upon to do school-based professional learning on PDAs. We do divisional student services planning and implementation, and we're working alongside our clinicians to be able to deliver that. We do some provincial initiatives. We integrate Indigenous education work alongside the Indigenous education team for school-based projects, and Dina works this year with the Quest Monterey. We also support some professional learning this year for several years, but division-wide for educational assistants, the child and youth care workers, the community liaison workers, additional support staff, and family centers. Dina and I are also trained in PATH, so we're able to offer that to our school as well, PATH and MAPS, Roots of Empathy, and we are also part of a working group this year which will mobilize strategic of practices into classrooms, and we also are mentors in the new teacher program for LRSD.
You know, and like I said, that's just a little bit of what we have going on. It's been amazing for me to come to work every day, to work alongside these creative, amazing professionals. And just seeing the amount of collaboration and the sharing of gifts, the sharing of passions, and continuing just to see exciting evidence of us getting together and finding the ways of bringing our strengths into our schools that we serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see what questions might you have for our guests this evening, or senior leadership team for that matter. Really?
I don't have so much have a question as a comment. We really appreciate the work you're doing with our students. And I'm on a couple of committees around the city, and Louis Riel is known for their collaboration and their ability to work across different lines. So it's really a joy for us to see it and hear about it again. So I just want to thank you for all the hard work.
Trustee Seminola?
Yeah, likewise, thank you. it's interesting, we're always talking about the work that your group is doing, especially around budget time and how you're impacting classroom experience. So to see some of the stuff that you come here and present, it's really valuable. And I know Rose was talking about, I noted here about, seeing other people's experiences as a benefit and not as a deficit. And then you showed some stats there about what are the demographic of our student body looks like. I think that's what makes this work so important. So thank you for that. And I guess my own question is, there was 30% there covered in terms of schools, I think 12 schools. Is there a plan as we progress through the multi-year strategic plan to reach all the 40, or is there to reach another 12, and what that timeline look like? Because obviously this is important work. I just want to see what the plan looks like.
Right now, we're focused on K-3. That's why it would go all the way up to 40, because some of our schools are middle schools and high schools. So right now, we are supporting our middle schools and high schools through request for service. And we are hoping that the work we're doing in K-3 right now, as the years go on, will transfer into, of course, the middle years and high schools. Thereby we'll have less students needing more supports. But yes, we are continuing to support our middle years and
And final question, when you talk about multilingual learners versus Indigenous learners, how much does that cross where you have somebody that belongs in both? And I want to say that because when I came to Canada, also English was a second language. That's how people say ESL. That was our group, I guess. But it wasn't like much, and English was my sixth language. So it's like, it's not really a second language. But the interesting thing, I have a friend of mine who his kids were born here. They're from India's parents, but when the kids went in the school system, that's why they started learning English. But they've been here the whole time. So I just want to point out that some of that second language multilingual learners is not always coming from outside, but the people who have been in Canada the whole time. So that's answering that question. Like some people fall within the two groups. There we go. Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? I really appreciated, just in closing, how you had some of your work for specific goals. That's a huge help for us, because we talk often about the multi-year strategic plan and try and align our conversation with those goals, but where you specifically referenced it, that's right. That's where I got busy. So it's a little bit of homework for me too, and to watch how that unfolds. So I know you've all had long work days, and thank you for carving out some time for you to join us and share your work. It's most appreciated. We've heard most of your names around the table at some point, so now to be able to attach faces to those that we don't know is an added bonus. So you are more than welcome to stay for the rest of our meeting. If you just want to find it, happy to have company in the corner. If not, please leave with our thanks and our gratitude for everything that you do to support our young learners. Thank you. Corey, if there's value leaving one door open just to keep the air circulating. Yeah, I know it's vacuuming, but I'm just, feels like it's getting, it's me here. Great, thanks. Okay, perfect. I think it was on. Maybe not. I'll get to it. Well, finance and audit is, that's a hard act to follow, but I know that our Secretary Treasurer is going to do his best in bringing us third quarter financial updates.
Yeah, so thank you very much.
Yep.
So this financial report is our quarter three, which encompasses 9 months of operations for the current school year. And for revenues, we are seeing that we've recognized 73.9% of our budgeted revenues for the period, which is about a little under $165 million. That kind of falls in line as to what we expect for the current school year. When looking at expenditures, right now we are recognizing 72% of our total budgeted spent for the year. we'll see that drastically ramp up as we get closer to the year end, as the majority of our salaries will start seeing a large increase as we get into June with final payments for the year for some of our groups like teaching and EAs before the summer break. So all in all, total revenues and total expenditures kind of meet expectations for quarter three report.
Thank you. Any questions?
Is this slightly, like at 73 and at 72, are we slightly higher than what we were at this time last year, or is it flat?
It is very similar to what we would have seen last year. What ends up happening is right around the quarter three mark, we kind of see a larger percentage of revenues over expenditures due to some recognition of revenue, specifically regarding our international student program, which we recognize in February for the second half of the year. And so that's why you kind of don't see that perfect matching, but the higher than expected revenues over expenditures. Now that that revenue has been recognized, the expenditures for that program, along with our general operations as a whole, will catch up to that revenue percentage.
Thank you. Any other questions on this item?
Ryan has.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ryan.
No problem. Just put it up. Just for clarification, the revenue source municipal government refers to the the school tax levy that's collected on our behalf by municipal government.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, seeing no other questions, that takes us to 5.2, borrowing and banking bylaw.
Borrowing bylaw. Yes, so this is the time of year where we come to the board to request a borrowing bylaw to help with cash flow for the last portion of the year. As I've explained in the past, what ends up happening is we get a large. Ryan has a question.
Clicked it by accident.
Okay. So like I said, this borrowing bylaw helps with our cash flow to bridge us between what we get from our municipal payments from the city of Winnipeg for school taxes and the large expenditures that we end up incurring at the end of June, particularly with the way that our payment structure is with teacher contracts and how we pay the three payments for June, July, and August for teacher pay, as well as some larger capital costs that we incur over the summer as we head into fixing and doing renovations to school over the summer break. And so this year we are requesting a bylaw or an increase in our line of credit to $45 million until the end of August. So I'll read the bylaw. Sorry.
So just around process, do we need the recommendation on the table first moved and seconded and then you read it, or do you read it first?
I would think that I would read it, correct? And then any questions and then put to vote?
Yes,
I'm thinking move and second, read it, questions.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So the recommendation is that the procedural bylaw requirement of section 1.3 regarding the limit to 2 readings at any one meeting be suspended with legal, and that Secretary Treasurer Rudnicki read first, second, and third time long bylaw 2023-2024-003, providing for the borrowing of monies upon the credit of the said school division to meet current expenses and finally be adopted. So I need a mover and seconder, please.
I'll move or second.
Turner, and seconded by Trustee Palmquist. So you can go ahead and read that, then we'll have questions and then we'll call the vote, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Sorry, I didn't hear who moved it. I heard.
Trustee Turner, trustee Palmquist.
Okay, a bylaw of the trustees of the L'Oreal School Division in Manitoba provided for the borrowing of monies on the credit of the said school division to meet current expenses. Whereas the estimate of the L'Oreal School Division as prepared by the trustees thereof of the amount required to meet the expenditures for such school division for the current operating budget year, July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025, in the sum of $247,027. And whereas the trustees of the said school division have not yet received any monies on account of school taxes for the current year from a municipality, local government district, or the provincial government. And whereas no monies have been previously borrowed to meet the expenditure of the current year. And whereas the amount, if any, heretofore borrowed and the amount hereby authorized to be borrowed do not exceed the amount of the said estimate after deducting therefrom such sums, if any, as have been paid by a municipality, local government district, and a provincial government on account of the amount required for the current year's expenditures of the school division. Now therefore, the trustees of the L'Oreal School Division of Winnipeg, Manitoba in the session assembled enact as follows. 1, that the trustees of the said school division do borrow the sum of $45 million from the Royal Bank of Canada upon the credit of the said school division and do pay or agree to pay interest thereon either in advance or at maturity, and in either case after maturity at the rate of prime minus 0.75% per annum, and do give the promissory note or notes of the said school division the same if and as may be required by the said bank, and that the corporate seal of the said school division be affixed to said note or notes attested by the signatures of the chairperson and treasurer of the said school division. 2, that the amount so borrowed shall be a first charge upon any monies to be received by the trustees on account of this current year's estimate for the purpose of the school division, whether from a municipality, local government district, or the provincial government, or from any other source, and as the same as received, that said school division shall deposit them with the said bank in a special account as collateral security for payment of the amount so borrowed, with interest thereon, but said bank shall not be restricted thereto for the payment of the said or sum so borrowed, nor shall it be bound to wait for repayment of the money so borrowed until municipalities, local government districts, or the provincial government have discharged their obligations to the school division, or be obligated to see that monies paid to the school division and deposited or applied as aforesaid. 3, that nothing herein contained shall waive, prejudicially affect, or exclude any right, power, benefit, or security by statute, common law, or otherwise given or implied in favor of the said bank. Given first reading by the said school board of the L'Oreal School Division assembled at the city of Winnipeg in the province of Manitoba this 21st day of May 2024, and given second reading this the 21st day of May 2024. There we go.
Okay, are there any questions on what we have before us?
I remember us going through this last year, Jamie. Was it still 45 million as it is today?
I
Was
believe
that number seems a little,
last year was 35 million.
That's what-
It's a little bit higher this year because of what we're experiencing with the provincial government and not receiving reimbursement for the construction of Sage Creek School. So I've had to increase that limit.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Whoa,
That's right.
question.
Okay, trustee Palmquist?
Thank you. Setting aside the issue with the province and the unforeseen circumstances portion of this fund, I do recall from my city hall days the sort of annual process of city council approving the transfer of funds collected by school divisions. Knowing that the large majority of taxes are paid in Winnipeg by under the tip system, where they're paid monthly. instead of at tax time of the year. I wanted to know if there's ever been any discussion with the municipality or between this division or any other divisions potentially of whether or not a arrangement could be established that addressed this cash flow concern. For instance, could transfers, the majority of taxes are held at any given time, or the majority of taxes are paid by tip, and there'll be the city of Winnipeg is holding on its books a considerable balance of taxes paid to date. And would it be possible for discussions to take place with the municipality to have a more regular, perhaps even based on the tip schedule, or even quarterly transfer of those collected funds to address this recurring issue of the mismatch between the property tax transfer and the actual costs incurred by the division?
Yeah, so I know this has been a long-standing practice that's been arranged between the collection of taxes by the city of Winnipeg and the school divisions. As for how that process of being able to collect and remit property taxes to the school, to the city, and then that flow to the school division. The one kind of barrier to all that is that property taxes aren't really are submitted or remitted to the city based on our approved budget at the end of March. And so by the time that paperwork gets to the city, and then they have to do their work on that end, it's something that internal process I'm not too privy or have an understanding of how that mechanism works. But from what I'm guessing, it probably takes a little bit of time on their part to reconcile all the transfers on all the accounts. And so it's probably a very complex discussion that we would have to have with the city. And I don't really, I could ask them about it, but outside of this circumstance with the build of the Sage Creek School, it hasn't really been an issue in past years when it comes to that outage, because if we look at how payments are made, we get a very large chunk, about 70% of our municipal taxes at the end of July. And if we start opening up that conversation as to how we're going to get payments made, we might be foregoing some opportunity of cash being given in a large amount in July versus spreading it out further. So it might not be advantageous.
Okay, yeah, no, fair enough. Those are sound rationales. I mean, I just sort of wanted to put out that it for long-term risk mitigation, it makes me slightly uncomfortable knowing that, you know, we're running a $250 million organization here, which consistently depends on which basically has like an unaligned cash flow schedule for our expenditures versus our revenues. And it just, if there were to be, certainly acknowledging that it doesn't appear to have been a significant problem up to date, but in the event of, I remember at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, when city council business was heavily restricted, when there was talk of closing city hall due to COVID restrictions, and there being concern that if the operating budget or capital budget was not adopted in that particular time frame, it might cause work stoppages, it might cause payroll stoppages. And I wonder if there might be a way of building in a bit of resiliency in the face of a potential disruption that might occur if in a hypothetical scenario.
Yeah, for sure. And there has been in the past, and that's why, and that came in the form of surpluses, right? We held surplus as a school division to help mitigate some of those gaps in cash flow. And as we've seen over the past 5, 6, 7 years, our surplus has eroded to the point where we're a little bit more susceptible to that gap. And like I've said before, or like I just said previously, it's never been a problem, but especially with the Sage Creek School, we might be coming up to a problem, especially if the province doesn't have the wherewithal to provide us with timely cash flow for the construction of our new school. So it's a very valid point, Trustee Conquest.
Just sort of one final question on that point. Is the requirement, the fact that this transfer of funds is voted on annually by City Council as like an agenda item, is there a legal statutory obligation for these funds to be transferred? I'm wondering I'm trying to imagine some scenarios where there might be like, say, like a fiscal crisis, or are these processes automated? And is the city legally, municipalities, not just Winnipeg, but in general municipalities, are they legally bound to undertake these transfers, or are there, or is it just sort of convention practice, best practice, collaboration amongst levels of government?
Yeah, it's convention or practice, and I'm just going to recalling based on anecdotal on some of my counterparts outside the city, where the flow of funds from the municipality comes at a later date. So I can speak for us, where we get our municipal payments from the city of Winnipeg, the RM of Richaud, and RM Springfield. We don't see the RM Springfield and the RM of Richaud payments until September. So 2 months later than we will receive from the city of Winnipeg. And I know that can be the case in rural Manitoba. So they're seeing a further or a larger risk to cash flow than we are in the city. So it's more convention than a legal.
Thank you.
Timing.
Any other questions on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor?
There you go.
Any opposed? Trustee Nordheim, how do you vote? Still loading. But you raised your hand, correct? Yes. Okay, and the motion is carried then, thank you. This takes us to some personnel staffing updates, beginning with principal appointments to the superintendent.
I am proposing the following, be appointed as principals effective August 1st, 2024. Aaron Enns is a principal in the Winnipeg School Division. I am proposing that we appoint Aaron principal at Darwin School for September 24. And Kim Adair Gagnon is a vice principal at Glenlawn Collegiate, and I'm proposing that we appoint her principal at Nelson McIntyre Collegiate for September.
Okay, so the recommendation then is that the following be appointed as principals effective August 1st, 2024. Aaron Enns at Darwin School and Kim Adair Gagnon, Nelson McIntyre Collegiate. Mover, please. Moved by Trustee Kolachuk, second Trustee Turner. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Like still.
As a load.
Okay. There we go. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. I should have said abstention. One abstention. The second one is vice principal transfers.
I am proposing the following transfers effective August 1st, 2024. Bob Cowie from Archwood School, to HS Ball School, and Thaddeus Urasa from Nelson McIntyre Collegiate as principal, where he's principal, to Island Lakes Community School as principal.
So the recommendation then is transfers be approved effective August 1st, 2024. Bob Cowie from Archwood School to HS Paul School, and Thaddeus Bourassa from Nelson McIntyre Collegiate to Island Lakes School. I can look for a seconder, please. Trustee Gary or Trustee Femignola? Any questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? Is carried. Thank you. Trustee Palmquist, how would you vote on this?
Sorry, it's not loading, but yes, vote yes.
Thank you. And finally, vice principal appointments.
You know, I just realized I read,
Yes.
I brought you context on behalf of the Superintendent Jean Paul.
Oh, that
I'll
was my
let
fault too.
Assistant Superintendent Jean Paul fill you in about the.
So given that the board has passed the motion that we transfer Vice Principal Bob Cowie from Archwood to Paul School, from Archwood to HS Paul School, we are recommending Megan Shangro, who currently works as a services teacher, be appointed as Vice Principal at Archwood School.
So the recommendation then is that Megan Shangro be appointed as vice principal at Archwood School effective August 1st, 2024. Mover and seconder for this, please. Trustee Gary or Trustee Turner, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried, thank you. Next item is chair information to the board, just one item. So this is just to share with folks that on behalf of the school board, a letter was sent to the Honorable Minister Altamari the 14th. Just providing some context and asking for a meeting related to some of the challenges that we're facing. Not only in the advancement of some infrastructure projects that we have ongoing that have been part of capital plans that we're waiting for information on, but also addressing some of the space challenges that we are struggling with right now and are waiting for government to respond related to support that we have asked from them. So we look forward to being able to have a conversation with them. Certainly keep our communities informed as to the outcomes on this one. We have a number of items coming to us from the senior leadership team, starting with our capital projects update, how timely, and I'm not sure who's navigating this one, yourself or?
No, I'll have Jamie, Rudnicki, Secretary Treasurer Rudnicki, share about the latest update from Sage Creek.
Wow, indeed.
Yeah.
Considering that we really had shovels in the ground in October, it's looking amazing. Right now, building construction is, the actual building is 22% complete, and the total project completion is considered 37% complete. So some site progress is in regards to concrete. As you can see, there's lots of concrete there. So topping pours have been scheduled, and they've been achieving their milestone dates. Currently, they're doing their fourth and largest pour of 12,000 square feet, which is actually taking place in the daycare area. And they will be moving on to the second floor pours in this coming week. Roofing, so as you can see the roofing there, trades are continuing to install the steel deck, and roofing trades started last week on phase 1 and phase 2 of the building. Scaffolding. This is beginning to be placed in the gymnasium, and when the scaffolding is up, they will start laying block down to create the gymnasium. Mechanical and electrical rough-ins, work for the interior rough-ins. It has is starting earlier than expected, which is always nice to hear. The first couple of rough-in phases will concentrate on roughing in the crawl space areas. And then finally, just a little happy note on CTV Morning News. They did a segment where our new school was featured as a backdrop. The segment highlighted Manitoba women in construction, and they gathered women from across different construction companies and professions. And so they were on site last week or 2 weeks ago. And so it was a really nice feature of our building and the tremendous progress that we've had. So that is my update for today.
So we'll have to have trustees visit the site in the coming weeks. Trustees could invite their MLAs to join them, and we could see the progress together.
Any questions on this particular item? Just a question related, you led off with 22% complete and 37% complete. I didn't get the difference between those two percentages.
Yeah, well, yeah, so the difference in the percentages has to do with kind of all the work combined within. So at the pre-construction phase, you have design draws and that like, and so that's incorporated as part of the percentage of the whole project completion.
Okay.
But the actual building, building construction, so the physical space is 22% complete.
And all signs point to a fall of 25 opening?
Yep.
Have we done any kind of a spotlight share out on this?
Not recently, no. But we definitely intend to.
Just a thought.
Intend to.
Next best thing to be in there, so.
And this is the inside of the building. Dickinson?
Yeah, if we could, be very good if we could share those pictures with the public. That would be very helpful to get some folks the idea of how far along it's getting and good work that's being done. Put them in a shareable way, put them on social media.
Okay.
Next item is enrollment reports.
So the link here that Secretary Treasurer is going to open actually goes to an old Power BI report that shouldn't even be available to the public, but we'll figure that out. Let's go to the data hub. Let's choose. So again, we have these enrollment reports coming to you when have quarterly budget reports coming to you, and that's because we've still got this old school approach to things when enrollment would come to you every few months in on a PDF form. But we can do better than that in LRSD. Trustees can check out the website any day and see enrollment relative to 4 p.m. that day. And so that's essentially making this enrollment report that comes quarterly kind of redundant. But it is just an opportunity to share with trustees, the public watching, that we are building out a data hub of information. And enrollment is one of those pieces of information. So the first tile shows us the enrollment as a number. And if you click on it, you get to go deeper across schools and grades. And if you go back to that initial, anyways, so you've got a few tiles there that you can navigate. Go to the data hub and those initial tiles and kind of right click on them so you don't lose this page. You can see a program enrollment detail. And then you can see, and then if you go back to that page that you kept, you're gonna go, okay, good. You can look at some enrollment trends. All right. And earlier this evening, we had information shared by Rose Pactacan about identities related to ethnocultural background and languages. You can get to that as well here. If you go back to the Data Hub and look for student diversity. Nope.
Trustees, any questions on what you see or anything you've tried to find in the Data Hub and haven't been successful doing?
You just wanna go back there, for a second? Cause I haven't realized that, every time I go in here, I haven't realized that the September number is visible in there. And I'm always interested for budget reason, obviously, to understand what a September 30th versus now look like. I see September 1708, but I need to go back to that number as of 4 p.m. yesterday, just to see that increase, because I think around this time last year, we were about 552, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and this,
September versus now, so I just want to understand how is that tracking versus last year.
so it's 414 right now is the difference between enrollment for today and our September number.
Okay, so a little bit of a decline from where we were last year, but still within this. Right.
Yeah. Definitely growing.
Okay, any other questions? Then we will move to the leadership team meeting. From email.
So trustees see the agenda. And we had our morning of networking and multi-year strategic planning. Where we give principals and vice principals time to work on their multi-year strategic plan in their school that is of course connected to our divisional plan. And they get the opportunity to work with colleagues like the folks you met with earlier this evening and folks around this table, supporting them in their work. And it's all intended to lead to something very concrete, a project-based learning approach, where it does lead to an actual project. And so this is a new approach, as I've described to you before, started in January. So I'm looking forward to the June meeting where we'll take some time to look at some evidence related to the work that's been done the last few months. And I'll share that evidence with you in June or in September. It sounds like we want to see this continue, but it'll be important for us to assess, to evaluate, and show evidence that it's worthy of continuing as a practice. In the afternoon, in May, we had a focus on exploring intersectionality and deconstructing parental rights in support of safer schools for everyone. And so we had folks join us to facilitate our learning, and Darcy coordinated all of this. So I'll have Assistant Superintendent Cormac share with us how these folks facilitated our learning in the afternoon.
Thank you. We constructed an afternoon that began with Isadine Hawamda and Shelley Hopper, who are our two coordinators of anti-racism education that we're working together with River East and Winnipeg School Division around. Start the afternoon looking at intersectionality and readying the conversation and dialogue for presentations by Allison Fensky, who is a clinical lawyer from University of Manitoba. And her focus really was on human rights, understanding child rights-based approaches, valuing the 2S LGBTQ+ community in education and looking at that from a legal perspective. And then we welcomed Dean Julius from Rainbow Resource Center, and he brought to us some practical realities for supporting school communities, and so ended with some great conversation and I think a better understanding how to support a very inclusive community that puts us in a good place for our some work that we still have to do.
Trustees, any questions on any of this? Thank you very much. We have a request for exploring a balanced school day at Riel.
Yeah, so we're following process whereby we write to Deputy Minister to approve a change in scheduling to accommodate the balanced school day. So there's a letter from me that will go to the Deputy Minister and a letter from the Parent Council President addressed to me so that the deputy, as evidence to the Deputy Minister, that there's been a consultation process with community for this change.
Trustees, questions on this process or the idea?
What makes the current style imbalanced?
So this is not new to LRSD schools in or public schools in Manitoba or Canada for that matter, but so it's just an approach to the schedule of the day that creates what is meant by the balanced school day is rather than these the typical 15-minute recess and a really tight lunch hour, who have longer periods of break of non-instructional time. That's the word I'm looking for. And so it is deployed. So as a way of approaching schedule in our elementary schools, it is in a few schools. Top of my head, Lavalley School, École Provencher,
Hastings.
École Varet. There's a few more.
Marion,
I'm pretty
Archwood.
sure. Marion, Archwood. And so it's growing in popularity, and here's one more school requesting a move to the balanced school day. And so what I would encourage trustees to do that are curious is to visit a school that has this structure, because it can look a little different from one school to the next. And compare and contrast that to a visit to a school that doesn't yet have the balance as a moniker for this different type of scheduling.
Trustee Area?
If I'm remembering, wasn't it kind of taking away the second short recess and making a half an hour longer recess, which was good for the transitions and things like that, and having an hour lunch? Is that? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, longer non-instructional periods
Yeah.
by redistributing this non-instructional time one is allowed to have as a
Right.
percentage of the day.
And it was helpful for the transition times. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, lots of research to suggest just makes for a better
Day.
sense of well-being for both students and staff.
Any other questions? Right, item 8.5, was I correct that this is deferred?
Yeah, we have not had a accessibility meeting since our last board meeting, so.
Thank you. And that takes to goes to 8.6, which is just communication metrics updates.
For April. Our followership is down in April, but I know it's up right now on the X platform. Facebook, up a little. LinkedIn, up a little. Yeah. Saint-Germain's Enviro Club was the top, not a tweet anymore, it's a post. And on X, on Facebook. It was all about the eclipse, and on LinkedIn. It was about delving into the concept and understanding impact, exploring strategies to combat microaggression. On Instagram, the top post was the eclipse. On the website, it was all about staff announcements. On YouTube, you continue to be the star. And then we've got our mail campaigns. And back to Sage Creek, that is actually one of our campaigns.
Right.
We update the community about the new school, the parents. We update parents in Highland Lakes with a new campaign related to that work to address overcapacity. We have a campaign going out to J.H. Brown's Collegiate about the project for an addition to address overcapacity. We have a campaign for both Windsor Park and Collège Béliveau about the need to address overcapacity. And so I just wanted to remind us about it as well. We have a full day kindergarten campaign that goes out every so often.
Any questions on communications metrics? All right, that takes us to 9.1, which is a policy review update through the superintendent to Assistant Superintendent Cormack.
Thank you. Earlier this year, we established a GSA leadership group that brought together employees from across schools that are supporting GSA or similar student organizations in their school communities. From that, we also offered a series of learning opportunities for employees across the division. And out of that came a committee along with some school leaders, as well as members of our divisional student advisory committee, to review the admin protocol that accompanies policy AC, practices that support respect for human diversity. And so before you, I bring the updated version of this admin protocol for your consideration.
So trustees, there is a copy attached that shows where the changes have been made. Assistant Superintendent Cormack, did you want to speak to anything in particular that's been changed here, or?
I think what I would comment on the whole of the document is originally the intention was to speak to students' experience when it came to practices that respect, support human diversity. And in this version, what you see is all community members being represented, employees, as well as students. And so I think that's an important change that came forward from.
So this is then, as you said, committee formed.
Students and a range of employee groups represented.
Okay. Excellent. Trustees, what questions might you have on this? Trustee Kolochuk.
So there's lots of changes to this document. So my one question or comment would be around section B, number 6. In regards to the student records. And just the last sentence that's there, I think maybe it needs to be reworded based on the last few words in that sentence. After requested name is deemed.
So you're talking section B, number
section
6,
B,
the last
number
sentence,
Yeah,
where it starts, the principal has discretion in the matter?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's hard. How does the principal have the ability to that would be my question, or make a decision based on that, based on the words that are used.
So I don't think that is a change. I believe that that was there before.
Right, but the above has changed, so it makes the bottom mean something different, right? Like, so with the stuff that has been removed, it makes that last sentence have a different meaning than what it did before with all of those sections.
I appreciate what you're saying. I think the intention of leaving that, although changing it slightly, was to still allow there to be a dialogue between principal and the individual. So I could recommend that we fine tune that a little bit to reflect that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then my other question in regards to, I believe it's still on, I think it's H. In regards to washing machines room access when traveling for field trip. How do you ensure that when you're going to other schools? Because I know, you know, having a student that's in sports, there's not always the same change room and washroom access in schools, depending on which division it's in and you know, where it's located. So is there conversations between divisions and schools that relate to section H to make sure that this is able to be like that the expectation is there and it's able to be executed on for the student? Or how are we ensuring that students have the ability to actually do this, right?
Yeah.
'Cause I know in some, yeah, it may say universal on the door, but it's definitely not when you watch it. Right?
And so what is incumbent and what is clear through the document is the responsibility of that trusted adult, whoever that is, to ensure that that safe pathway is created. And so if you are the coach or if you are the principal where a student has shared you know, the need for an alternate space or consideration, then that individual is responsible for making that pathway a safe one for them as they experience different, whether that's at camp or a tournament or what have you.
Should add something in there for parents as well.
Yeah, sorry, say that again.
You should add something in for parents. Well, I don't know how you do it, but like, you know, if you, because parents are attending these things with students, right? So are they also part of, you know, the responsibility along with the coach and those types of things in order to ensure that there's a pathway there? Or how does that?
You know, what my experience has been so far, and I just continue to learn alongside an amazing group of adults that support a broad range of students, is each situation is so unique. It's going to depend on that family, on that parent, on that situation. And so what we've tried to do throughout this is to have that intentionality of that trusted, safe pathway. And so if that hasn't come out strongly enough in here, then I want to take that back to strengthen that.
Yeah, I guess maybe, I think there's opportunity to make it more stronger in knowing whose responsibility is in that, especially in this one, because this one is a bit, and even H and I to me are, right, like knowing who's responsible, or maybe responsible isn't the full word, but who is the person that's there in support of that student, right? And making sure that their experience is a good experience.
And so under I number 3, it kind of gets at that, and is further,
Yes.
you know, so it sort of fleshes it out a bit more, but
Yeah.
again, I'll go back in and review that section.
I think the biggest concern, of course, is having volunteer coaches who are not necessarily communication between the staff member and a volunteer coach in those situations. That would be where it might fall apart and cause some issue.
For sure, communication is always at the heart of things.
Mr. Seminola?
I think going back to, you know, Pam's question there on 6. So does that mean that even if you're from K to 12, if you request an M change, the parents and whoever your guardian is will be aware now that those are stricken out? Was that one of the?
Ask your question again.
One of them used to say like students in K to 12.
Yeah.
Have the written consent from the student received and kept on file. The other one said parent. So that's this being removed mean that whenever communication goes home, the parents will be aware that the student has changed has requested for.
It's saying that all individuals have the right to be addressed by the name and pronoun that corresponds to their gender identity or expression. And they have the right to request that regardless of whether they choose to have their parent informed or not.
Okay.
Okay, so in terms of process then, because there's been a request to view a couple of words and to review a couple of sections here, we would for that upcoming meeting, or do we?
What I did was I reworded it and it's now worded to that would be further reviewed by the policy review committee and brought back to the board.
So in order to find that, I guess I need to refresh. See what it says. Okay, so then the recommendation is that administrative protocol supporting policy AC respect for human diversity be further reviewed by the policy review committee and brought back to the board at a future meeting. Trustee Kolachek will make that motion.
Yes, I will make.
Second, please. Trustee Nordheim, any final questions? All those in favor? So just to be clear, we're referring this back to the committee for review based on the comments that have been offered around the table. And Trustee Gary,
Yeah, I'm having-
you're stuck.
I said yes.
And Trustee Pompa, so the motion is carried then, thank you. All right, we have school board correspondence received from the department. We have some correspondence that has been sent. The letter to the minister was previously referenced. And then we also have some correspondence that has come from MSBA. Is there anything in particular that anybody wanted to draw attention to? All right, so we will receive that. We have 2 action items. The first one is the Pride Parade, and Assistant Superintendent Cormack speaking to this.
So we are currently finalizing plans for the submission of a school bus in this year's Pride Parade. We also have a number of students and employees who will be attending the parade. And so I bring forward a request to provide transportation to students, families, and employees to the event on June 7th.
Okay, so the recommendation then is that the board support the transportation of students, staff, and trustees to and from an extracurricular event on June 2nd, 2024. Moved by Trustee Kolachek, second by Trustee Turner. Any questions? I would just have a question. Is this because it is outside of the regular school?
That's correct.
Okay, because we don't, like, if there's students going to a tournament or something and there's a bus going, how is that different?
Well, we do bring those reports to you about extracurricular activities.
But we don't.
So this is how we're. Because it hasn't come to you as part of that report.
Oh, it's
related to an extracurricular.
Okay, all right, so it has to
activity
be
and
covered.
travel,
Has to be covered.
bringing it here in a very specific way.
Yes, we are. All right, all those in favor? Any opposed? Oh. Trustee Nordheim, your vote? In favor, and the motion is carried. Thank you. And then finally, addressing enrollment pressures at a Cold Sage Creek School, and the superintendent to Assistant Superintendent Anderson to set this one up.
Thank you. So for September at Cold Sage Creek School, we are projecting 55 students in French immersion kindergarten and 51 students in English program kindergarten for a total of 106 students. And what I can also share is that we have been in conversation with families at Cold Sage Creek School as part of the implementation of full day kindergarten. There was an evening consultation happened on that was organized on April 3rd that had very good participation, in which various options with respect to implementation of full day K were presented. In a follow-up communication on April 11th to these families, that was also posted as a spotlight story on the website. So this probably isn't news to you, but families were informed that full-day kindergarten would be implemented at École Sage Creek School with 2 French immersion classes and 2 English program classes, and that each class size would be capped at 24 students. So that would be 48 students in French immersion and 48 students in the English program. So for those of you doing the math, that leaves a small number of students, 10 in total, who would be in kindergarten next year if they materialize. They have not registered at this point, who would not have a space at École Sage Creek School. I can share with you that as of today, 48 students, so the maximum number, have enrolled for French immersion, and 44 have enrolled for English program. So tonight we're presenting for your consideration a motion to support the plan that has been presented to the community. And essentially, when the class size cap of 48 students per program is attained, then students will be temporarily redirected to École Guillot for the French immersion program or to Shamrock School for the English program. And upon the opening of the new school in Sage Creek in 2025, those students who were temporarily redirected would then begin attending school in their own neighborhood. And of course, school bus transportation would be provided at no cost to these families. So the motion that you have before you is similar to past motions where we have experienced space constraints at other grades.
Okay, so the recommendation then is that the superintendent's report and recommendation to address enrollment pressures at École Sage Creek School for the 2024-2025 school year be received as information, and that the board close enrollment to kindergarten at École Sage Creek School for the 2024-2025 school year when class sizes attain 24 in the French immersion program, the English program, or both, and that upon closure of enrollment to French immersion kindergarten at École Sage Creek School, the catchment area for École Guillot be changed temporarily to include residents of Sage Creek newly registering for kindergarten of the French immersion program for the 2025 school year. That upon closure of enrollment to English program kindergarten at École Sage Creek School, the catchment area for Shamrock School be changed temporarily to include residents of Sage Creek newly registering for kindergarten of the English program for the 2024-2025 school year. That students affected by these temporary changes continue at École Guillot or school until such time as a second LRSD elementary school opens in Sage Creek, at which time they will attend the French immersion program at 355 Daisy Villeneuve Boulevard. Sorry, I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. Or the English program at 315 Sage Creek Boulevard, and that school bus transportation be provided at no cost to families, to students affected by this temporary change, and that senior leadership monitor class size in kindergarten at École Guillot and Shamrock School and provide additional staff if required. Mover and seconder, please. Trustee Semignola and Trustee Kolachek, any questions? Trustee Turner and then Semignola and then Trustee Kolachek.
I'm sorry, Superintendent or Assistant Superintendent Anderson, sorry about that. Did you not say 48 students in French immersion and 48 students in the English program? The motion says 24 students.
Class sizes.
There are 2 classes of 24 in
It
each
doesn't say
French
that. It
immersion.
says
and
that the board close enrollment to kindergarten at École Sage Creek School for the 24-25 school year with the class sizes attained 24. It doesn't say how many it's going to be. 2 classes of 24 for English, 2 classes of 24. It seems to, it has the feel that it's gonna stop at 24.
So
That's what I'm feeling from this motion.
the wording isn't clear.
No.
To be clear, currently, there are 24 students in each French immersion class and 22 students in each English program class. So there are 4 spaces left in the English program at Ecos Sage Creek School and no spaces left in the French immersion program.
And I think what you said, when you explain it and how you explain it, I think we get it, but the motion reads as if it's only 24.
4 students.
That's all it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we could just add to the motion, the 4 classrooms.
Correct.
So we
Yeah.
have,
24 each.
4 classrooms that can accommodate 24 students. When we reach that threshold, we're sending them to École Guillaume for French immersion. Shamrock School for you.
My only other comment, I'm not sure if this part of the motion is necessary, that the students affected by these temporary changes continue at Code Gear or Shamrock until such time as Second Elementary School opens in Sage Creek. The only reason why I'm asking if it's necessary is because whoever goes to a Code Gear or Shamrock by next year in September, they'll be in a different grade anyway. They'll be enrolling in grade 1, and we're not saying they're gonna be in grade 1 at these schools. Is that the plan?
Yeah, so we're saying essentially that overpopulation will still be true the following year. And we're just making clear that you're staying at Shamrock or Guillaume for as long as need be, but as soon as that school in Sage Creek is built, we want everyone back to the English school in Sage Creek, and we want everyone who lives in Sage Creek in French immersion in the new school. We don't want folks overcrowding the schools.
Yeah, so this change is for kindergarten and beyond until that school is open.
Right.
And right now, that's 2025. Okay, that makes sense.
Fingers crossed. We always have to have our fingers.
Right, all body parts. Was that your question? That was your question around,
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the first one was the same one that Cindy brought up, and the
Okay.
second one was this one.
Okay, and trustee Kolachek?
Mine was just clarifying the motion to make sure that it's clear to anybody that reads this, that it's 2 English classrooms and 2 French classrooms.
So we need to, how's that, I can't see that. Is it,
We're working on it.
you're going back and forth? Yep. Right. So,
You don't have to read the whole thing again. I think it's.
no, I won't. It'll just be inserted and then I'll check in because that we can make the change as a friendly amendment to the motion.
Yeah, it's good. We get so much in the weeds. I think we, good motion. Clarify.
Can I propose alternate
Why
wording?
you help us out of the weeds on a Tuesday?
Can I propose alternate wording?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. That the board close enrollment to kindergarten at Ecos Sage Creek School for the 24-25 school year when program enrollment reaches 48 in the French immersion program, 48 in the English program, or both.
Okay, we have another clarifying question.
Okay.
So based on the response to trustee Simonola's question, if Sage Creek does not open in 2025, is it the same next year, or will we have to have another motion brought next year? Yeah.
Oh, we'll have,
Specifically said 24-25 now, if you're revision.
yeah, we'll need a new motion because enrollment will, who knows what we're facing in terms of an enrollment bubble in through 24-25.
Yeah.
So trustee Simonyola, having made the motion, are you okay?
We might
with
have
the
more
amendment?
motions coming to.
I'm glad with the amendment, thank you.
Okay, so we have an amendment that is accepted by the board. And yours, okay, to second still? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. We have now come to public question periods. Mr. McGurn, any questions this evening? All right, do we have anybody online with a question?
Nope, no registered, no.
No, none. All right. Then the meeting is adjourned. Have a good evening, everybody. Adjourned at 8:30. I need trustees for a period of time, so we'll take a moment for a break and then trustees only for just well to line. I think that's what is that